Do you know that saying, the best things come in little packages? Well, in today's episode is one of those best things, and yes, it is in a really, really little package. Now, have you ever seen anybody walking with this little animal poking its head out of a pocket or maybe a purse? Now, have you seen those videos of this really small pet flying, actually gliding across the room to someone? Well, in today's episode, Alea Holladay joins me. She's the founder of Sugar Gliders Guardians, and yes, that best thing, it's the Sugar Glider. Alea, Glider Lady in Chief, started with one glider, and well, the rest is history. She founded an organization so these little cute guys would not go from one home to the next. They provide all the support and information you need to be a really good glider parent. In this community, it really sticks together like cotton candy. Now, sugar gliders were given a name because they would glide from plant to plant or tree to tree to get the fruit that they like from their natural habitat. They're actually nocturnal possums and they're not related to flying squirrels. So, Rocky, sorry, these guys aren't your relatives. Now, they're native to Australia, but they're really easily found all over the US these days. And when we talk glide, we're talking about 55 yards. And yes, they are really, really, really cute. And yes, they can fit in a pocket or some warm, cuddly space. And because they're nocturnal, if you're walking around with them during the day, they just love to snuggle up with you in this warm space and they just nap with you. Oh, one other thing I need to tell you. Now, I've got this tendency to get something in my head and call them the wrong thing. And for these little guys, I've got this in my head. I'm calling them super gliders. Not sugar gliders, super gliders. I just can't get it out of my head. And besides that, I kind of like the name My Little Supermen, the Glides. Anyways, you know when you're talking to someone and you can just hear the love and enthusiasm in their voice? Well, get ready to hear it because Alea really puts the sugar on the glider.
For real, 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 for real. Got a bunch of furry friends and I love them all the same. I'm an animal lover, veterinarian is the name. Let's share some pet stories from heartwarming to strange, losses and games from wacky to insane. For real. You're now tuned in to For Real with your host, Markakyle.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the For Real podcast. Today, this is a pet that everybody loves. I know this for a fact. My guest is Alea Holladay, and she's a Texas person too. So welcome, Alea. I can't wait to get into this story.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, you are a lucky person in so many ways. I mean, any person that knows anything about a sugar glider, and by the way, every time I think about sugar glider, I keep wanting to call it a super glider just because of Superman. It's in my head. It's the weirdest thing ever. I keep wanting to say, in my head, I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to go talk about super gliders. And no, sugar gliders. It's weird.
They have a lot of nicknames.
Well, I want to get into that too. But first off, I want to get into you. I want to know a little bit about your background, introduce you to everybody out here that's listening, but find out about you and how you got to these really cute little guys.
All right. So I am a lawyer by trade, although I don't practice anymore. I have 2 kids, and I got my first sugar glider on a whim, which is a terrible way to get a sugar glider, but that's how I got it. In 2014 at a crawfish festival in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. There was a guy there. I don't think he's around anymore, but he was selling sugar gliders, and I asked all the right questions. I did go back to my hotel room briefly and do 10 minutes of research, and then I returned to the festival. I got the last sugar glider there. She was a little baby. Her name is Ginger. And so that's how it all started for me. And then as far as the rescue is concerned, it kind of snowballed from Ginger. So I learned that they need friends.
Right.
So I came back to Houston, which is where I live. And I got Pepper. So Ginger and Pepper, they were best friends. I loved them. They had their cute little different personalities. And then I started doing a little more research, which you should always do in advance. But I learned a lot about gliders that I didn't know and that I hadn't been told, even though I thought I did ask all the right questions. So I thought surely there are people out there who have gliders who don't quite care enough to do all this research. So I thought, there must be a need for sugar glider rescue. And sure enough, there was. I started a Facebook group to do rescue with other people. We became a nonprofit, and we've been a nonprofit for, I think, 11 years now.
That's crazy. And the name of it for everybody who's listening?
Oh, Sugar Glider Guardians.
Yeah, so but I want to keep going. So you get ginger, pepper, salt, and whatever other ones you got now. But so you started with 2 though, because I remember when we talked before, you ended up with a lot more than 2. So let's kind of go back to your story and how you ended up having a bunch of them.
So ginger and pepper, first 2. My first rescue that I came in, I call her a rescue. Her name was Poppy. I named her Poppy, obviously. And I had found her on Craigslist. These people were selling her for $70. And they said, she's unfriendly. We don't want her, essentially. So I went to pick her up. And I discovered that she had been living alone in a tiny cage with nobody even attempting to handle her for 2 years.
Oh.
No toys, nothing, just a little pouch. And they fed her every day and she had water. 2 years by herself.
And they like toys?
Oh, yeah, they like toys. Yeah, oh, yeah, tons of toys,
I'm gonna get into this, but let's keep on. Let's stay with Popper for a second.
Poppy, yeah.
Poppy.
So I got her, and I think so I had her for about a day and a half before I learned she was super friendly. She just wanted friends. She loved me. I think sometimes animals, gliders included, know when somebody's
Energy.
when somebody wants to help them. And so I took her home, and she was mine instantly. That was my first foster fail because I didn't intend to keep her, but So then there was Ginger, Poppy, and Pepper. I did another one. Her name was Hazelnut. And and then, eventually I kept on doing that, foster fails. And I did do some rescues that weren't foster fails also, but this was sort of on my own. There was Mushroom and Biscuit, a couple males that I would get them vet checked, get them neutered, find good homes for them. But eventually I had a core colony of 6 girls, Olive being the last one. And so then, then as my organization grew, people instead of me sort of seeking out animals that I knew needed help, they started coming to me. So that's when the numbers really grew. I really focused a lot on getting them vet checked and all the care they needed, and then adopting them back out. Because as any responsible animal lover knows, if you get too many, the more you get, basically after a certain point, the worse of an animal caretaker you are, because you don't have the capacity to spend time with them or, give them the attention that they could have in a home where there are fewer sugar gliders. So I built a network up, built up the Facebook group, and there, we've done some bigger rescues, one huge rescue, but we've done some bigger rescues. Our first big one was 64 sugar gliders from a small town in Texas. So that was our first big one. And then the biggest one we did was 3 years ago, where it was 540 sugar gliders, also from another small town in Texas.
How many?
542, actually 542.
And so when you get 542, because do you have them like in your garage? Where do you have them?
So both. Well, the main rescue was always in my living room or a spare room in my house. We have moved several times because it's always with my house. So if I move, the rescue moves too. We moved in this current house in 2020. And part of the reason we bought this specific house was because it has a 4-car garage, but one of the stalls is separate. So it basically has a 1-car garage and then a 3-car garage. So we use the 3-car garage for our cars and whatever.
Right.
But the 1-car garage, right after we moved in, we remodeled it so that it didn't look like a garage. It's got tile floor, sheetrock on the walls. We put in new lighting. We put in a mini split air conditioner, so it's climate controlled. We set it up knowing that it was going to be a sugar glider rescue. So that's where we operated. And is a really great rescue, a decent sized room, but not for 542 gliders.
Yes, yeah.
It couldn't fit that many.
Yeah.
So I had a very large upstairs spare bedroom also, very large. So that is, and we did use a few fosters in that too, but I'm pretty leery of using fosters. I try not to. So most of them were either in my downstairs rescue or my upstairs spare bedroom. And we did do those in two groups. So I took 140 in, I think it was February or March, 3 years ago. And then I took a month to take care of that, got all the males neutered, adopted most of those out. And then the next group of 402 came in. So that helped a little bit.
So I'm just visualizing, because I know they like to be in the trees and that in the wild in Australia and down, where they're from. But do you have like climbing things and stuff inside those things? I'm trying to just visualize what it looks like.
So for a normal sugar glider, for an ideal sugar glider in captivity who's going to be a pet, you would have a large cage with lots of toys. You would have a running wheel, kind of like a hamster wheel, but one specifically made for gliders. It's a little bit bigger. Things that they can climb on, things that they can carry around, things that they can nest with, like some eucalyptus. That would be an ideal setup. Now, when I'm rescuing so many gliders, I do not have that kind of ideal setup for the ones who are going to come in and go back out again. I just have usually a medium-sized cage, but when there's so many, like 400 or 500, then I have a small cage with a couple toys. But that's very, very temporary.
What's the size of a medium cage? Is it like a crate for like a dog kind of a thing?
I would say comparable to like a medium-sized dog crate. I think it's 24 by 24 by 36 inches tall, or somewhere around there is a medium size. So a large cage, which is what I would recommend for anybody who's going to keep a glider as pets, it's probably about 5 feet tall, maybe 5 feet wide and 2 feet deep.
But if you have a room, and the reason why you have a cage, because they probably get out. So if you have a room, can they get like underneath the door? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, sure, sure. Some people who have, not so many, if they're just keeping gliders as pets, they do use a room in their house, and the gliders can certainly inhabit the whole room. You have to take some precautions, like make sure they can't get under the door, or make sure they can't go in any vents or any holes, or out any windows, things like that. But sure, the larger the better, as far as I'm concerned.
I was just thinking, because I was thinking about because they're so small, they can probably, if there's just a tiny little gap, can they get through really, real small kind of cracks and things like that?
They're not as good as like mice at doing that, but
Right.
they can surprise you. So you just have to be cautious.
For real, 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 for real.
And we'll be right back. We are supported by PrepVet, providing stem cell therapy for pets.
As a pet lover, did you know your pet can benefit from the incredible healing power of stem cell therapy? Prep Therapy offers a groundbreaking solution taken right from your pet's own blood. Say goodbye to joint pain, arthritis, kidney and liver conditions, and more. They'll experience faster recovery, increased vitality, and extended quality of life without the need for surgery or harmful drugs. Put the wag back in their tail and discover Prep Therapy today at PrepVet.com. Save 10% with promo code FurRealPodcast, covered by most pet insurance.
Getting back, so I still think it's hilarious, hundreds of gliders. So you're there and you've got them. So what do they eat? I know the reason why they fly around. There's a reason for it, and you can kind of talk about that. But what are you feeding them when they're doing that kind of thing?
Sure. I feed a kibble-based diet, which, there's a lot of debate about diet on sugar gliders and very few studies to tell us what we should actually be feeding.
Sure.
But I find kibble-based diets are better. So it's basically a kibble supplemented with some protein on some nights, and then on other nights a fruit, on other nights a vegetable. But the nutrients is mostly in the kibble, and even though they're called sugar gliders, a lot of sugar is bad for them, just like a lot of sugar is bad for virtually any other animal or us. It rots their teeth and makes them fat, obviously. So I find a kibble-based diet is easy to control the sugar, get them the nutrients they need, including the calcium.
That's what I was going to ask you about, the calcium.
Yeah, they do need calcium, but generally, if you feed a good diet, and I consider a kibble-based diet, Sugar glider kibble, not cat kibble or anything
So
else.
they actually have a sugar glider kibble.
Oh yeah, yeah. There are companies that make sugar glider kibbles. So if you feed one of those, you should not have any calcium problems unless your sugar glider has a condition where they are unable to absorb calcium. And of course, no matter how much calcium you feed them, it won't matter if they have a condition like that. But generally, we don't see calcium deficiencies anymore in sugar gliders.
Yeah, because when you read it on the internet, of course, the one thing I say, you got to make sure they get enough calcium.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. And you do feed them yogurt, and it helps with the calcium. You can you can crush up Tums and put it on their food if you want. You can basically never overdose on calcium. They'll just poop out
Right.
what they don't need. But usually if you buy a specific sugar glider kibble that's high quality, you don't need to supplement calcium.
So are they messy? I mean, tell me what they're like. I mean, let's start. Because you see all the videos, but I don't really know. I'm sure I've probably seen somebody carrying one like in a pocket, because I know they call them pocket animals and things like that. But let's start like from babies and kind of walk us through I'm sure you've had babies and all that too, and what their personality is. I mean, and they're all different, what they're like, and all the different things.
Sure. Okay. I will tell you, I know you've seen somebody carrying a sugar glider around and you would never know it. So I would say when I first got Ginger and Pepper in the first couple of years, if you saw me any random day, I had 2 sugar gliders in my bra and nobody knew it. But they would just come with me every day, all day, to wherever I had to go. So,
But when they were in your bra, do they like crawl out or anything like that? Or they just
no, not usually. No, I mean, if there's a really loud noise that spooks them, maybe. But
right?
no, they sleep through everything. They sleep during the day, so that's one thing. They're nocturnal, so most of them, and of course they have different personalities, but they just sleep during the day. They really can't be bothered to play or anything else, and they don't like. Their eyes are very big and they take in a lot of light, so they don't really like bright light. So they want to stay where it's dark.
Mhm. Well, I got a real quick question for you, because it reminds me of something. So when I was reading it, they were talking about how their ears can rotate.
Yeah, they do. They can kind of, rotate their ears. If they hear something, you'll see one go back a little bit, or when I've got my hands above my head right now trying to show you, but
Oh, well, that's so me. My hands are moving when I'm talking all the time. I'm trying to explain things as if you can see me.
yeah, so they can rotate their ears. What are they like generally? Well, they're small. Okay, so they're about maybe the size of your hand, roughly, probably the size of my hand, roughly speaking, minus their tail, which is about the same length as their body. Their tail, they can use their tail to carry things around. So they're very playful. Some are very playful. You can put little plastic bracelets or rings or branches in their cage, and if they're small enough, the gliders, if the items are small enough, the gliders will wrap their tail around it and bring it to where they want it. So they're playful. They love the wheels. Many of them will learn how to do tricks by themselves on the wheels. You'll see them doing backflips or
Really?
jumping out. Yeah, oh yeah, jumping out of it and then hanging on the side for a minute and then jump back into it while it's still moving. They do all kinds of things. They're very playful. I don't recommend this because you're not supposed to have strings in their cages. But if you do have something that has a knot in it, you might wake up and the knot will be untied.
Really?
Yeah, they're smart. And they do untie things or they can tangle things up. Like you'll wake up and all their toys are in a big jumbled mess because they've done that overnight. They're very playful at night.
So I know, because they're nocturnal, and that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you. So, since some people are, but majority of people aren't, and if they have a pet, do they ever kind of change them where it's dark during the day or during the nighttime, or I guess they leave light on at nighttime and they can play during the daytime, kind of a thing, like a dark room, or they just, how do you play with them if they're hanging out at nighttime?
Sure. So most people are not nocturnal, and no matter how hard they try to become nocturnal, they just, we're not.
Right.
So we usually recommend playing with your glider in the evening when it's getting dark or it is dark. And you get a little pop-up tent in your living room or as big as you can. You put the gliders in there, you turn off all the lights, and they'll run around. Some gliders will run around if you keep the lights on, but most prefer the lights to be off. And they can crawl on you. You can give them treats. You could, put toys in there, whatever you want. They can forage for little mealworms. But we usually recommend playing with them in the evenings. And then some people go in the mornings too and give them little treats, say hi to them, whatever. They could respond to your voice. They might respond to their name. You find that if you have a colony, certain sugar gliders will hear you come in and poke their little head out of the pouch, say, hi, how are you doing? Where's my mealworm or whatever.
Right.
And some gliders will just sleep right through it. They don't really care.
So do they know their names? Because when I was reading about how social they are, I was wondering if they know their names, if you call them, if they'll come to you and all that, if it's nighttime.
Sometimes some gliders know their names and some gliders you probably don't. Some gliders, I mean, it depends on how much you train them and work with them and spend time with them. Some gliders, have a favorite person. Some gliders don't really like people. Ginger loved me. Ginger would come to me. Pepper, she couldn't be bothered. She didn't really want much to do with me. And I had her from the time she was, 8 or 10 weeks old. So it wasn't that she didn't know me. I gave her a great life. She was just more standoffish. But Ginger, I will tell you a story. I was living in a different house and I had the gliders upstairs and they were on the 3rd floor. I was on the 2nd floor. And I accidentally left the cage open one night. And Ginger, all the other gliders were in their cage. They were fine. But in the morning, I was sleeping in bed and I'm like, what is that noise? That is a weird noise. What is there something on the dresser? Is there a bug? And then suddenly I felt something crawling on me and it was Ginger. I'm like, Ginger, what are you doing? She had to come out of her cage, come out of the room that she was in, go down a flight of stairs, walk past the cat, and walk down the hallway and come find me while I was in bed. And she did. Some gliders are just so friendly and attached. And
So, I know that the reason why they glide is to stay away from, I guess, prey and also get to the fruit that they talk about, right? And all the food and all that. Do they fly a lot when you have them as pets too? Or glide or whatever you want to call it?
yeah, we usually call it gliding because it's, I
They're not
call it,
flapping wings.
no, and it's more like a controlled fall, right? It's not like they can go far, but it's not like flying. And usually in the wild, they glide from treetop to treetops just to get around and to find more bugs. And you're right. So they don't have to go on the ground and encounter snakes or whatever is going to eat them down there. In their cages, usually cages aren't big enough for them to actually glide. But if you get them in a big enough area, some of them will. And they are afraid of heights too. So
That's weird.
yeah, I know, but many gliders do not. It's kind of they're polar opposites. So some gliders do not want to climb anything; they'll mostly stay on the ground. But a lot of gliders, when they're going to glide, they're very cautious about it. You'll see them, trying to debate, like, do I want to do this jump? And they're pretty reserved about it. It takes a pretty nervy glider to actually glide down, say from a shower curtain rod, which is if you put them in the bathroom and let them play, maybe 1 or 2 will. But out of my colony of 6, I had one who would constantly just jump down, then run over and climb up the shower curtain again, and then glide down again. But most of them don't really want to do that.
So more they're just like really kind of hand pets.
Yeah, if they like to be handled, or they just want to explore. They just
Right.
go sniff things and chew on things. They're not huge chewers, or they'll just hang out and eat their treats. They're happy doing that.
So one of the things I read too is that they have really sharp teeth. So do they bite you, or I mean, I know that it's for in the wild they get that stuff off the bark and all that, but
Mm-hmm.
do they bite you? I don't know anything about these guys.
Yeah, all gliders bite sometimes. And even though the teeth are tiny, they have 42 teeth. It's the front incisors that are the painful ones. So they have 2 super long teeth on the top and 2 super long teeth on the bottom. And they're like little fangs that are together. So it's just like this piercing little bite on both sides of your finger. And it can hurt. I got a bruise on my arm when Olive bit me once. She was a big glider though. But yeah, all gliders bite sometimes. Some bite a lot. Some rarely bite. Ginger rarely bite, but if she was scared, she would. They don't like it when you grab them or invade their space. Like if they're sleeping in the pouch and you stick your hand in there, you're probably going to get bitten. But if you kind of talk to them, coax them out, maybe like push them up from the bottom or squeeze them up from like kind of like a tube of toothpaste, you just kind of like squish them up,
Right.
then they're less likely to bite. You have to be careful when handling them. They're easily scared, I would say.
Well, you keep saying pouch, so they're marsupials, which like, and they're also in the possum family, I guess is what it is.
Yep.
But they like to sleep in like little covered nest kind of pouch things.
So we make fabric pouches for them. It's just basically we make it out of fleece because fleece doesn't fray, so it doesn't get stringy. We want as few strings as possible because they'll get tangled. But yeah, you just hang it in the cage with two little clips, and they naturally gravitate toward that and go in there and sleep in there all together in one big pile if there's a bunch of them. I don't know if you've seen like maybe kangaroo rescues or wallaby rescues where they, the babies will jump in those big bags. It's kind of like that, but just much smaller.
Right. Because even Tasmanian devils are marsupials, even quokkas are marsupials as well.
Mm.
They're all crazy. So let's talk about if I want to get a pet, and I know early on when we talked the pros and cons, and what you were talking about early on when we were talking about that, and I want to get to your rescue and what we can do to help that. What are the pros and cons of having one or two? I guess.
Yeah. Sure. Pros. They're fun. They are way too cute. I mean, you've never seen a not cute sugar glider. They are so cute.
Says the sugar glider rescuer.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So those are a couple of pros. They make, I would say, decent companions if you have just a few or two. If you get the right one with the right personality, it can be your little friend, but you have to get the right one. And how do you know that when you get it? I don't know. I would say there's a lot more. I don't know if I would say cons, but just sort of cautions.
Caution's a good word.
Yeah. So you have to get more than one. They're colony animals. They will get depressed if they are kept as singles. You absolutely cannot have just one. They are messy. To answer your question as before, they will, when they eat something, if it's soft, like say yogurt or I don't know, juice or avocado, they'll eat it and then sometimes they'll shake their head from side to side and it'll fling it everywhere. So your walls are going to suffer. There's ways you can protect that, but they're messy. They'll throw food on the floor. They're messy.
What about going to the bathroom?
Yeah. You have to be okay with getting peed on and pooped on.
Well, that's like having a baby.
Right. And they're small, so it's not that big of a deal. But
Yeah.
as soon as they wake up, they're gonna pee and they're gonna poop and they're gonna poop more than you ever thought they could. But they will poop in their cage sometimes, but they poop wherever.
So they don't have like litter boxes or anything like a cat or anything like.
No, I've never seen a sugar glider who is litter box trained.
You can't house train them.
No, I don't think so. There's a lot of cautions. Of course, they're nocturnal. They need out of cage playtime. Their diet is, you can't just go to Petco and get it. You need to order it online, and you need to already have a veterinarian who sees gliders who's reasonably priced near you, which you probably have one, but you have to find it. That's kind of one of the things that irks my soul is those exotic, quote unquote, like exotic animal hospitals. They're so expensive. And there are regular vets who see them at regular veterinarians, and they're a lot more reasonably priced. And often because they have better prices, they have a lot more experience because a lot more gliders come their way.
Right.
Yeah. Like who wants to pay, $1,500 for a neuter when you could pay $200 for a neuter? But you have to research and figure out what you need. And a lot of vets won't see them at all, or they'll be wrong about them. We have horror stories about how the vets thought that, or even the vet techs thought, well, we should trim these teeth. These teeth look way too long. Well, with sugar gliders, if you trim their teeth, you basically ruin their life because they will not grow back. and you've exposed the nerve, and now they have tooth pain for the rest of their life. It's not like a guinea pig or a hamster where you trim their teeth, or they'll do a botched neuter, or some vets really don't know what they're doing. So with gliders, so you have to be careful.
So, and you've mentioned neutered several times. So one of the most important things when you get these things to make sure they're neutered.
Yeah, you can get them neutered yourself, and at your vet, or you can get if you get males, they need to be neutered for a couple reasons. One, because the males will be friendlier, less aggressive toward each other, less aggressive with females, less aggressive with the people, obviously. And if they are not neutered, they stink to high heaven. You do not want that in your house. They are so smelly, the males. And also because we don't want to reproduce sugar gliders nonstop. It can get really out of hand really fast. And you can't spay the females. Sugar gliders are prone to self-mutilation. So if you do an incision on their abdomen, especially, they are gonna try to chew it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you don't want to do that to a female and then go in there and try to find her two uteri, I guess, two uteruses, and then take them out. It's just too invasive. She will probably not survive that recovery. She'll probably chew herself to death. So the males, it's real easy, just one tiny little snip, and they're done. And they're usually just fine with that. They usually don't try to chew it.
I mean, they don't have little sugar glider cones?
That we do actually.
You're kidding.
No, we do. I had them manufactured myself, and I have a bunch here, and we sell them on our website. But they're small, and it's hard to get that right. They're small and wiggly, and they can get angry and they bite, so it's hard.
Yeah.
To get a cone on a glider where it's gonna stay on. They can't weasel out of it. And it makes it really hard for them to eat and drink too and move around their cage. So it's not ideal to use a cone. And with most neuters, we say don't use a cone unless you see them chewing, because it makes it really difficult for them. They're miserable. And there's also little emergency vests you can buy, but it's better to just avoid the situation.
Right. Well, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because anytime there's a spay, obviously for the male, it's a lot less, across any species anyways.
Yeah.
From that standpoint.
For real, 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 for real.
And we'll be right back. We are supported by PrepVet, providing stem cell therapy for pets.
As a pet lover, did you know your pet can benefit from the incredible healing power of stem cell therapy? Prep Therapy offers a groundbreaking solution taken right from your pet's own blood. Say goodbye to joint pain, arthritis, kidney and liver conditions, and more. They'll experience faster recovery, increased vitality, and extended quality of life without the need for surgery or harmful drugs. Put the wag back in their tail and discover Prep Therapy today at prepvet.com. Save 10% with promo code FurRealPodcast, covered by most pet insurance.
One of the things I read, and we've talked about this. So when you have a group of sugar gliders, it's called a colony, and then one of the unique things to them, it's not 100% unique, is one of the things is that the males will co-parent with the babies. And the older male, apparently, in the colony, almost like the grandfather of the colony, will really step up and be one of the babysitters.
Oh, yeah. The dads help the moms with the babies for sure. You kind of, which I don't have a lot, I will say I try not to have a lot of experience with babies because we neuter all the males as soon as they come in.
Right.
But of course, there are rescues that happen where the females already have the joeys in pouch when they come in, and you can see maybe a baby bump, or maybe you can't. Maybe it's too early. But after the joey is in pouch, there's nothing you can do. Like it has already been born about the size of a grain of rice. It crawls up through the fur to mom's little pouch where the nipples are, and it stays there for about 2.5 months growing. And of course, when it's about ready to come out, there's a big old baby bump.
Right.
But when it's so small, you don't know. And another interesting thing is the females, there have been so many cases where people have kept a male and a female together, and then they get the male neutered, and then a year later, the female, comes up with a joey in pouch. And it's because the females can hold the male sperm in stasis for so long
Right.
that even though the male has been neutered for a long time, you can still get a joey. So we do get some joeys. The dads do help. You don't want to take the dads out or separate the family while the joey is under, 8 or 10 weeks, because the dads do help. But the mom can do it by herself. You generally don't worry unless both parents are neglecting the baby.
And they get to maturity or somewhere around 8 to 12 months, right? The babies.
Well, they can wean from mom at the earliest 8 weeks. We try not to separate them at all, but if they do get separated, 10 or 12 weeks is better. But then I would say around 10 to 12 months is when they're like a full-grown sugar glider. It's when the males start getting their bald spot, which means they're sexually mature, and they have a bald spot on their forehead that they get if they're not neutered. So if you get them neutered, they never get the bald spot. But if they have a bald spot on their forehead, then you get them neutered. It will fill in no matter what age they are.
What? That's interesting. So does the bald spot have to do with testosterone or some kind of thing?
It's like a gland up there.
Uh-huh.
And they can also get one on their chest, like right in the middle of their chest. And it's just like a gland that secretes, I don't know what, but it makes their forehead bald. So if you ever see a sugar glider with a big old kind of like diamond shaped bald spot right in the middle of their head, it's because they're an intact male.
So all the bald guys we see out there in the human race.
Probably intact males too.
One of the things I read too was that it's more common to have twins than they called it a singleton or something like that. So they normally have at least 2, I guess.
They normally have 2. And then after that, if they're not going to have 2, they'll probably have 1. And if they're not going to have 1, they'll probably have 4 or 3.
Oh, okay. So they can go from 1 to 4.
1 to 4, but 2 is the most common. And
but they could have 1, and then they could have 2 or 3, or 3 or 4.
Yeah. 2 is the most common, or 1 is pretty common too. But 3 or 4, that's a lot at a time.
Here's a bit of trivia that I'm sure you know this, but when I was reading about the oldest fossil of whatever the scientific name is like 4.5 million years old.
Really? I did not know that. I never heard that before.
Yeah. And here's another, I had to break notes. By the way, for people listening, I just wrote notes. It's not like I remember them. So the thing is, their scientific name, which I thought was really cool, is it actually means short-headed rope dancer because of the way their canopy acrobatic stuff that they do. I was going to repeat it again. Short-headed rope dancers. So that's what you have. They're not those super gliders, I call them, are actually the rope dancers.
I believe that. I believe that they do this little wiggle of their back feet sometimes, and what they're doing is they're spreading their scent around.
Mm-hmm.
But I did see one video on YouTube that was set to like this song called "Wiggle with It." I'm sure you can and it was a sugar glider dancing around, and it was perfect. So I believe you.
Yeah, well, literally the scientific, I didn't write the scientific name because I'd have to pronounce it. But whatever that is, if you look them up and you go into Wikipedia, whatever you look at it, that translates, it's a Latin for short-headed rope dancer.
A very apt name, yes.
See? I found something that you can talk about to all your sugar glider people.
I will tell them.
Okay, so let's talk about your rescue, all the things you're doing, what your needs are, the projects you have going on, and all that kind of stuff too, because there's a lot more to it than just feeding them and doing stuff.
Oh gosh. So there's kind of 2 aspects to the thing that I do for Sugar Glider Guardians. First is the physical rescue part, and some of it is done here in Houston, although I have scaled that back pretty majorly since in the past couple of years because I have other commitments. But we still do a lot of physical glider rescue around the country, which sort of leads to the second and much bigger part of my job, which is running the organization. We are the biggest sugar glider nonprofit, so it's kind of different than most dog or cat rescues where they operate locally only. We operate nationwide. We have a network of fosters. If you're in the United States and you need help with your sugar glider, it's very likely we can help you. And some parts of Asia, Canada, and Mexico too.
Well, hold on one second. When you say help, define what that means.
So do you need a vet? we probably have a veterinarian contact within driving distance from you. Do you need somebody to help you trim your sugar glider's fingernails? We probably have somebody on our list who you can drive to who will help you with that. Do you need a mentor? We probably have someone in your general area who has had sugar gliders for at least 5 or 6 years, who can answer your questions, go to your house, look at your cage, bring you some supplies. Whatever you need that's sugar glider related, we can probably help with it, even if it's sending you stuff in the mail. But usually we have grown so big and we have networked so much with so many owners that we can usually find a way to help anybody anywhere in this country.
Cool. And so we'll talk about some of the projects you got going on now, how you're trying to raise capital. I mean, how to find you, everything. This is your opportunity. Get it out there.
Okay. Our website and our Facebook group are probably the two best ways to get in contact with us. If you just want to know a little bit, sugargliderguardians.com. That is our website. You can learn all you want, especially if you're considering getting sugar gliders. The website is, I made the website, or I will say I wrote the content on my website. It's not AI generated. It's all from my brain.
Oh, there's the attorney speaking.
You'll learn a lot and see if maybe sugar gliders are the right fit for you or not. We also have a few supplies for sale on our website. And of course, a donate button. If you want to donate, feel free. The other thing, if you have sugar gliders or you want to get more in depth, is our Facebook group. So it is also called Sugar Glider Guardians. We have a page that's not as active. Come to the group. It's got well over 30,000 members. That's where we can set you up with a free mentor. So we pair new owners with existing owners. They go into a chat. So you're asking all your questions to one person. And you search the group, you can find stuff on any topic, what to buy, how to trim nails, health issues, diet issues, behavioral issues. You find it all on our group. And that's where we also do a lot of our fundraising, and we sort of make public what we're doing behind the scenes. Like, for example, right now, we have a sugar glider in Florida whose name is Cashew.
Are they all food names? Every name is a food.
No, they're not. No, they're not. It's that's funny. A lot of them are, though. But I mean,
obviously,
he got tangled in an unsafe pouch that was in his cage. His foot got tangled, and now he either broke it or he chewed it too much. Excuse me. And now he needs a foot amputation. And because of the stress of that injury, I mean, the owner reached out to us. They were totally overwhelmed. They got one quote from a vet who couldn't do it till August. So he ended up surrendering the glider to us, to a foster we have in Florida. And he has his first vet appointment with us this afternoon. So that's good. But this foot amputation is going to cost quite a lot, probably. They all do. Amputations are major. And because of the stress from this injury, he's also chewing on his tail. So it's really bad, because if they're chewers, they can just, we had one named Ghost. There you go. Oh
my God, you got one.
Yeah. And he just, they'll chew their foot off. They'll chew their tail off. They're just chew if they're stressed. And it's probably like 2 out of every 100 sugar gliders who are like that. But when you get one like that, it's really difficult. So I'm hoping Cashew isn't one, but we'll see. He could possibly need a tail amputation, and then also he needs a neuter. So that's one project that we're working on, who just came in 2 nights ago. And then another project that we're working on, also an owner surrender, who she contacted us also through our website and said, hey, I have around 8 or 10 sugar gliders. They've gotten out of control. I started out with a pair, and then things, I think her words were, the adventure became unmanageable or something like that, which makes me roll my eyes.
Yeah, well, I know.
But so it ended up being 19 sugar gliders in Tennessee that one of our amazing foster homes just took in. She took in all 19 of them. And I think we need, I believe it's 11 neuters for that. And we're getting quotes, but I don't know what is with those vets in Tennessee. They're charging a lot. So that's going to cost several $1,000s just to get those boys neutered. not to mention any dentals that any of these gliders might need. And sugar glider dental work can be very expensive, but also sugar gliders are super prone to dental disease. So that's why you have to make sure you feed a low sugar diet and be aware of the signs of dental disease, which you wouldn't necessarily think are signs when you see, hey, my sugar glider has a wet belly. That's a sign of dental disease. And there are many others. But so those are the two major things we're working on right now. Plus, the occasional helping owners out with vet bills when they just can't do it. And we try not to take in, if the owner is a loving owner who just can't afford the vet care that they need, we really try to just help with that because we don't want to be sugar glider collectors.
Sure.
But in some cases, people are just overwhelmed. This is too much. So we do take them, and those are the two that we're working on right now.
Yeah, because the one question I have, I got a couple comments here, but one question I was going to have. So when you get the money, what you're doing with it, and that describes it. Do you get some senior people that are, they've had sugar gliders for for a long time, and and they pass, and all of a sudden you've got the sugar glider? Do you have people that are reach out to you for that as well?
Absolutely, that happens probably several times a year, where it was the wife who took care of them and she passed, and the husband is like, I don't know what to do with these, or the niece got them, and she's they just don't know what to do. We do try to place them in our foster and then get them whatever they need and then adopt them out in those situations. Also, we recently had a younger owner pass away, and I believe it was one of her in-laws got the gliders and didn't know what to do. So we transported them to Wisconsin, where they have found lovely homes. Wisconsin and Kansas, I believe, where they have found lovely homes. So we literally do it all when it comes anything anybody needs for gliders. We can help with it.
So here's an idea for you, and you may already have it. So I did an episode recently with a rescue up in Bend, Oregon. That's for senior dogs.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Silver Linings Dog Rescue. Anyways, one of the things they provide, especially since they get older animals, they provide like a legal document or that they had somebody put up, and they provide it to their owners. So it's almost like a will, but a plan for if something happens to them, what to do with the glider. So it could be something you could do. I'm sure it's a real easy thing to do to give to a certain, one of your glider owners. Be prepared.
Yeah, that would be a great addition to our website. We do have several printable things, and it is good for them to be prepared. I will say a lot of the glider community, they know each other and they help each other. So hopefully we can stay out of it if something bad happens.
Right.
But like, for example, the rescue where we did 542 gliders, that was here in Texas, and it was the biggest male breeder that I've heard of in sugar gliders, and they were getting old. They were in their 80s and they could no longer care for the gliders. And the USDA came in and said, these are such horrible conditions, you have to shut down. And so I was told at the beginning it was 200, which turned into 500, which, whatever.
Right.
We were only able to rescue about 10% of what they had. So they had over 5,000.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was, and they didn't know what to do with them, and they were in their 80s, and they had, I think, 2 employees, but it's not enough. And these gliders, had parasites that no vet had ever seen in a glider.
Oh.
And they, like, the USDA report is horrifying, but people do get old. And so if you just prevent the reproduction, that helps a lot.
Across the board for all animals, by the way.
Yeah. Right.
Hey, one thing I thought about too on the one that's going to have the amputation. Have you heard of the Wizard of Paws?
No.
So it's on Disney. It's a great show. He's been on the show, Derek Campagna. They're out in I think it's North Carolina, Virginia, somewhere in that part of the world. But he's famous for doing prosthetics for animals across the board. It's a great show, by the way. If you love animals, it's just a great TV show. It's on Disney.
Interesting.
But he would be somebody that he would probably be interested in doing something with you guys for this guy if they have to get rid of amputate one of the legs.
You said he's in Florida?
He's, I think, North Carolina or somewhere in there. If you go to if you go to the podcast, I did an episode with him sometime I don't know when it was, but but you can look him up too. It's Wizard of Paws, Paws.
Okay.
His name's Derek Companion, but he's really interesting. You can listen to the episode because I know you listen. But I mean, that may be something that would be a really cool thing. It'd be a great story for your social media as well.
That is true. That's true. I will look him up.
Okay, so a couple of things real quickly. You've got a lot of information on your website that we really didn't address, but you've got all kinds of different things on this. So for anybody out there that one may have a sugar glider or two looking to get one, you've got a wealth of information, vets and all that kind of stuff too.
Oh yes, we have one of our best resources is a vet map that covers the whole United States and a few in Canada, a few in Mexico, a few in Asia of vets who see sugar gliders, and we try to keep it updated. It's hard, but you can submit an update if you have a disagreement with it or want to add one to it. But it's a great starting point if you're looking for a vet. And we have so much information. It's mostly geared toward new owners who really don't know anything about gliders. And you can contact us and ask a question there. You can ask for a mentor there. It's really very helpful.
And on the social media, again, I can't remember. Can you tell everybody what the name is? I know Facebook's your big one. Are you on Instagram too?
We don't usually use Instagram. We might have an account, but
Okay.
we can only do so much. So Facebook is very active. It's our group.
Okay.
Go to our group, Sugar Glider Guardians. You'll see it has, I think, like 33,000 members. It's extremely active. We do lots of fundraising on there, lots of mentoring. People answer your questions. You can search it. The search feature is really phenomenal. We have files there with all kinds of different lists of, fruits and vegetables, what you can feed, what you shouldn't feed, just anything you want to know. How to bond with your sugar glider, you find it all on the Facebook group too.
Okay, so for everybody who's listening, we're recording right now, but in the description, you'll be able to find all those links there. I'll have that on there for everybody else. So now we've come to my favorite time. For you guys listening, it's the joke time. Unfortunately, Leah won't tell a joke because she couldn't find one on sugar gliders. I found one. Unfortunately, you're going to have to grin and bear it with me again. But as I always say, if you want to be on the show and tell a joke, please, your kids, your grandkids, nieces, nephews, whatever, please do contact me because I let everybody come on. I'm gladly have you do it so nobody else has to cringe and listen to my jokes. But you can email me at mkyle@forrealpodcast.com. And also, if you've got good ideas like this show, please do that. The same thing too. So here's my joke of the day. So here we go, Alea.
Mm-hmm.
What did the mother sugar glider say to her baby Joey before it took its first flight?
I do not know.
Just wing it.
Okay.
I told you. Anyways, first off, thanks so much for being on the show. I really, really appreciate it. I know you're busy and 2 kids and all that kind of stuff too, and 5,000 sugar gliders, whatever it is. But really, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
It was really fun. And then for everybody else out there that's listening, keep following, listening, spread the word. Again, if you have ideas for the podcast, different things, and I welcome everything. So please get a hold of us and keep following. But most importantly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for listening. For real.
That concludes this episode of For Real with your host, Markakyle. For previous and future episodes of For Real, listen via all major podcast streaming sites.